Good morning from beautiful Bath. I find myself in Victoria Park, of all places in Bath. This is just to the west side of the city centre of Bath. And the reason I thought I'd start here is because it's a nice little walk, taking in a little bit of Bath. How about we try to walk for about 20-25 minutes? Hopefully you can stomach it and you can get to know a little bit about one of the most beautiful cities in all of England, in my opinion, and in many other people's opinion. Right behind me, or right in front of me, is an obelisk. What Wandering Englishman video would not be complete without an obelisk? Now, my ambition in this video is to navigate between this obelisk and another obelisk, and hopefully we'll find a third obelisk along the way, because this city is steeped in Freemasonry history. There is a lot of Masonic influence in this city, to the degree...
The handshake and the ring, Watson, are archaic rituals preserved by the 33rd degree members of the secret order of Freemasons.
Where we have, this is the Victoria Obelisk. It was erected in 1838, excuse my 100 years out there. It was erected in 1838, which was in June, when Queen Victoria was coronated or crowned. She was indoctrinated or presented into Masonic life in 1837. So the year later they dedicated this obelisk to her. Now, it is a way of them letting you know they control the area, they have a presence in the area, and as many of you will know from many of my videos, you'll see their influence throughout Europe. It's very rare for me to visit a city where we don't see the influence of the Freemasons. And the Freemasons have a considerable influence in Bath, which is in the southwest of England, a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. Somerset, just south of a city called Bristol. You probably don't want to spend too much time in Bristol these days. It tends to be a city full of the workerati, a city where they seem to be offended by everything from statues to buildings. However, thankfully, nothing has been torn down in Bath, and it is an exceptional city. What you'll find as you walk around Bath, most of the city, if not all of the main centre, is made of the same type of stone. What you see here is the Bath stone, and this is one of the reasons that Bath is one of the most beautiful cities in all of England. We are literally going to head over here to probably one of the most famous sites in Bath. This is the Royal Crescent. I'm going to walk up here. I'm sure that many of you will recognise this from pictures of Bath, maybe even from the thumbnail to this video. I haven't decided what thumbnail I'm going to use yet. Trying not to get run over. You'll notice I'm on a very narrow road, narrow footpath. I probably should be on the pavement over there, and if I start losing my breath in a moment, it's because one, I probably need to hit the gym a little bit more regularly, and two, I'm walking up the hill. But thankfully, as we turn the corner here, this street seems to be blocked. There are cars on this street. You have to access it from another direction, I believe. And this is the Royal Crescent. Now, hopefully the wind isn't going to ruin the video here. It has picked up a little bit. The skies are a little bit grey. We might encounter a rain cloud, but one of these exceptional views. I want to pan around just to sort of show you this exceptional view of what the Royal Crescent is. Look at that. Fantastic. It really is fantastic. And what is even more exceptional is the view. Check out this view. That's right. I think I've got it on, we've basically got it on gimbal mode, so it's going to track me everywhere. So those complaining, why am I in the video for the entire length? Because this is a talk to camera video. So talking to you, the audience. But it also means that I'm going to be ruining the view a bit. But if you can just sort of ignore me for a moment and take in that wonderful view, this is what the residents of the Royal Crescent get to look at every single day. It's very well maintained. As you can see, we have a gardener here, or fence person sort of maintaining the grout. There's a person who just had their coffee. This was made in the 18th century, so before Queen Victoria's reign, and it was one of the first of its kind in the fact that Romanesque. I'm not an architect, so if you really want extra information on the design, but it is very Romanesque, and it was made so that the angle meant everyone had a beautiful view, but it also meant that every house behind the facade was slightly different. If you think about how the houses are angled inwards, which gives you this fantastic view out to there. So just twisting the camera back around again, we can see that these were effectively completed by an architect called John Wood. And number one is open to the public. It's basically a museum. So if you fancy going in there, it would enable you to see how they used to live in the 18th century. So from, 1767 onwards, these people used to live. These places generally were lived upon by the much ado about society, the well-off. The paupers of society certainly weren't living here. It was the wealthy, those that could afford a second home. Bath became so appealing after a while that those second homers turned into first homers. They actually thought, screw this, I want to live in this beautiful place. I want to move out of the big smoke that is London, because London was filthy, whereas this was less filthy. People weren't chucking their sewage waste onto the street, or if they were, it certainly wasn't happening on the Royal Crescent. That was happening in the burbs, or the poorer streets of Bath, which do exist. Bath, despite having one of the highest average house prices in all of England, I think the average house price is around about £600,000 to £650,000. It's about $800,000 to my US viewers and global viewers, not thinking in sterling. That's a considerable amount of money. The average person in England can't afford a house for $800,000. It gives you an idea that there's a lot of money in Bath, and there's a lot of wealth, which makes everything look kind of nice. But if we look here, look how pristine the streets are. Very clean indeed. We're going to walk down here towards the Royal Circus. Hopefully we get down here, but I just want to sort of pan the camera around again. Look at this. Look at these beautiful houses. Not with the fantastic views as the Royal Mile, not the Royal Crescent, but still phenomenally nice. There's a great little street up here on the left. I'm just going to pan the camera again. This street just here. Very quiet today. There's a place just over here. You can have a quick look where there's tables and chairs out over here. It sells some fantastic, it's called Grog. It sells some fantastic beer, some Belgian beers, some local beers. It's a nice place to sit and have a beer. There's also a shop over there called Uber, and I think it was called Uber long before the taxi company was called Uber. So they're either probably quite annoyed by the name Uber or pleased, I'm not sure. But it made me notice it, the fact that that's unfortunate that a mega company has stolen your name, I think. But as you see, there's some reasonably nice cars on this street. It's not like London where you've got Lamborghinis and Ferraris everywhere, but it is a nice street nonetheless. And as you can see, furniture shops kitting out your nice $800,000 homes. But then again, that's the average, so you've got to think about that. That basically means it compensates for all the poor, cheaper housing. So the average house, probably back there on the Crescent, $2, $3, $4 million. Hopefully we're going to pass some estate agents and you'll be able to see just how much some of these places cost. And speaking of some, here we are. England is always with estate agents, so this is just a rent. We need house prices. Let's have a look at these house prices here. So Great Pulteney Street, which is probably close to where we're going to finish, and Jane Austen used to live around the corner here. You can buy a 3-bedroom apartment for £1 million. If you want to live in the countryside, it's £1 million. It's £1 million, by the way, so £1 million, that's about £1 million is 125,000, is $1.25 million. And then a more affordable house, 3-bedroom, 575,000, so about $700,000. That was a more affordable one, but none on the Royal Crescent for sale there. It's a shame that we can't see it. But now I just want to show you the King's Circus. Huge connections to royalty, huge connections. But let me just show you. As you can see, very beautiful. I'm going to try and cross here without getting run over. Really, really, really beautiful. I'm just trying to decide, do we go up this way or do we go down this way? Let me just have a look. I think we're going to go down because I believe, just get my bearings, I'm not a local to Bath. I'm definitely not a local. Yes, we're going to head down towards Queen's Square. That's where we're going to go. So down here, as we get past, we could check out this beast. See if I can zoom in there. Ever camped in one of those? That's what our European RV is. That's obviously a VW, so Volkswagen, German influence, but very popular in the 1960s and 70s, and they still sort of dot around England because people kind of like them. I'm just going to have a look at this plate over here. There's a lot of plates. Notice says the Circus, architect John Wood. It's the same architect that designed the Royal Crescent, designed the Circus, and this was erected in 1754-69. So actually this was, my belief, the Royal Crescent was completed in 1767, so it was all completed at the same time. But we're going to head down the hill. The hills of Bath remind me a little bit of Edinburgh, but very different city. It has a similar vibe in certain ways. Let me just twist the camera around a little bit just so it gives you a perspective. As you can see, we've got the old-fashioned entranceways. A lot of these would have been homes originally. Now some of them have been turned into businesses. As you can see here, there's some sort of Japanese business going on there. I'm not sure. This, you can always tell if it's been turned into apartments, because if you notice that is the doorbell, so it shows basically apartments 4 to, well, it's 5 apartments there, basement all the way up to flat 4. But as we continue to head down the street, talk to you a little bit more about the adventures. Oh, if this is the first time you've clicked on this channel, hopefully it's not the first time, but if it is the first time, give it a quick like, give it a subscribe. The channel is growing. I really appreciate all the comments that I get. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic little hobby of mine, and I have to say, it's your comments, usually the positive ones, that inspire me to continue making more. If you would like to join the postcard club, there's quite a few of you on there. That basically means I have to write a postcard to everyone. Try to do it at least once a month, usually from the places I visit. So if you want to join the postcard club, you might get a postcard from Bath, you might get a postcard from my next place of adventure, but they do eventually arrive. I know that I was in Egypt, footage not available, but I was in Egypt, sent some postcards, and I think they took 4.5 months to arrive. Don't blame me, blame the Egyptian Postal Service, the US Postal Service, and also the British Postal Service, depending on who is receiving the post. Just want to show you over here. We have the Jane Austen, we have the Jane Austen thing over here. We have the Mary Shelley experience. Mary Shelley wrote the novel Frankenstein while she was living in Bath. Jane Austen, there's a Jane Austen experience over here. She didn't live there. She lived in Bath, but she lives a little bit to the east of where we are, and probably in the direction we're going to be walking. She wrote many of her novels in Bath. Many of the films, the Jane Austen films, were actually filmed around Bath. I have to say, I'm not a huge fan, but I know many people are. Cross over here. So this is the north side of Queen's. Try and get the. This is the north side of Queen's Square. Try not to get run over as we cross here. Jaywalking is allowed in the UK. We're going to head into the square. Let's head into the square here. We have to cross over the fence here. And I want to show you something that's quite significant. Speaking of saying there's not lots of flash cars around here, we have a Lamborghini. has a bit of bling, isn't it? STO. I don't know. Wait, my friend Nick would know exactly what that is. Is it STO or GTO? Whatever it is, it's very garish. But here we are in the center of Queen's Square, and it basically slopes from the north side, which is just in front of me, just over here. This is the north side, and it slopes to the bottom. The north side is probably the most impressive side of the square. It's a very beautiful, beautiful square. But what we notice straight away is our second obelisk. They have a presence around here, as I keep saying. We see the obelisks everywhere we go in Europe, and we see them once again here. Now, I have to get my dates right because I'm thinking as I'm talking, but this was presented to the Prince of Wales after he became an honorary Freemason, and not just honorary, a fairly significant Freemason at the time. 1737 he was welcomed into the Freemasons, and then 1738 this was then erected for him. Think of the dates I've just given you. That's 100 years difference between the first obelisk we've seen. This is 100 years older. But it's significant in the fact that it's 100 years. So they did the Victoria Obelisk in 1838 and the Prince of Wales Obelisk in Queen's Square in 1738. Now, shall we see what it actually says on here? Let's have a look. So, on this obelisk erected in 1738, so I'm not making this up, the original inscription read, "In memory of honours conferred in the gratitude for the benefits bestowed on the city by His Royal Highness Frederick, Prince of Wales, and His Royal Consort in..." Now this is where it gets very difficult. This is the obelisk is erected by, and it's slightly worn. I hope it's not been worn away, but Nash, he was responsible for a lot of the things that went up here, but quite significant. Okay, just turning it around again as we walk away from the obelisk. I think it would be wise to walk this way and probably to talk about it, otherwise we're going to be standing next to the obelisk for too long. The four sides of the obelisk have significance in Freemasonry, that is for sure. They represent temperance, prudence, fortitude, and, oh my god, I forgot, I've got to look this up. What did they represent? And justice, if you can believe that. And what you'll notice also is they always face north, south, east, west. So the north side of the square, and notice how the other side is facing north. So it's always exact. And in the old days, well, not the old days, where obelisk used to come from, Egypt, it used to represent the sun god Ra. So it is strange how supposedly members of the royal family who are supposed to be representing the Church of England ever since Henry VIII, still have a loyalty to Masonic symbology. Who are they really representing? Are they representing the Masons, or they're representing the church? They're just trying to keep the Masons on side? You tell me. But as you'll notice, as we walk away from Queen's Square, we now find ourselves on Old King Street. And there's certainly a lot of King influences to speak of around here. But we're going to, hopefully, this is where I probably will get a little bit mixed up and lost. I was thinking we'd walk up the top of that street, but I don't want to repeat myself. So I think we can get through here. There's a lot of nice restaurants in Bath. If you're a fan of good food, you're not going to have a bad time. I've not been here. This place has got a rooftop. It's called the Badger. Here you see some of the older buildings here. This place is called Jolly's. I think we're in the back side of Jolly's. I've not been in. Has anyone been here? You recommend it? Looks kind of nice. Oh, okay, it's a department store. That's why I haven't been in. I'm not a shopper. But there is a place I have been in, which is over here. This is the Salamander pub. I don't know how old this pub is. It's a nice pub. It's had a bit of a refit since I visited many, many years ago. It now looks more catering for the female audience than the male audience. But as you can see, it looks a very nice display. I don't remember it ever looking that nice when I visited here many, many years ago. So actually, just stop here while we have a quick look at the house prices. Have a look. So, if you want to rent, you can get this for $7,500 a month. If you would like to, here we go. This is more like it. This is the Circus. So this is where we've just come from. So the King Circus, yours for 3.95 million. So basically just shy of £4 million, which is about, I don't know, well, what is that in dollars? $5 million? It's about $5 million. So yeah, not cheap. Definitely not cheap. We're gonna head this way. I'll get run over by the trucks. We're gonna head down this, past another actually great street. We're gonna be quiet here because this street is called, if you can see that, it's called Quiet Street. Quiet. Someone needs to tell the lorries that, or the trucks, as you say. This is the Raven. This is a fantastic pub. This is a proper English pub. A really nice place to visit, but it's too early right now. It's just after 9 o'clock in the morning. It's the reason why you can see so many deliveries, and it's the reason it's a good time to film, because I'm not being overrun by tourists everywhere. Because effectively, Bath is a very popular tourist destination. If you're looking to visit from London, you could take the train from London. It will come into Bath station. It will get you there reasonably quick. Could be wrong, but I think it's around about 2 hours. Cheaper option, you can get the bus from Victoria Coach Station. It's going to take you 2 hours 45 minutes, 2 hours 50 minutes on the bus, or you could drive probably in about 2.5 hours from London, depending on traffic. Peak summer traffic, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to take you a longer time. There's always a lot more traffic. The UK has become very overcrowded, as many of my regular viewers will note. Something I've complained a lot about recently. I'll tell you what, we're gonna go more the back streets, because the reality is, no, actually we're not. We're gonna go. Let's try and show you. Let's try and show you something. So over here, notice all the Bath stones. It still stands out, but we now get more towards the centre of Bath. So, but as you see, look at this. It's very beautiful, but it's shabby and beautiful at the same time. There's a lot of thoroughfare here, so that you have some shabby, slightly. This is the Theatre Royal, so do theatre fans. Go on their website. They sometimes have some good productions there. There's actually a lot of theatre in Bath, and I have to say, it's going to be cheaper generally to see the theatre in Bath than in London. So if you're thinking about that, there's another pub just down here. They don't have the greatest taste in beer for the umbrellas. I'm not a fan of Moretti. I know some people are. Lane 7. So, trying not to bump into people. And this reminds me of Spaceballs, the movie. Everyone watch Spaceballs? It's called Schwartz Brothers. Schwartz, may the Schwartz be with you. Anyone remember that one?
May the Schwartz be with you.
So we're going to just head up to the main street here. I want to just show you to the Royal Baths, and then hopefully we're going to finish off with the last Obelisk, just to show you how much of a presence the Masons have in this city. Look at this beautiful balcony over here. Isn't it? Where are we going? I think we're going to head this way. Past Flan O'Brien's. That's a nice pub as well. There's a reasonable amount of pubs in Bath, and you're not going to be having a bad time if you check out some of the pubs in Bath. And speaking of pubs, I think that's probably all I ever do. Maybe it's a great place for live music. This place over here is called the Grapes. Check it out as we walk past. Obviously it's not open right now, it's a little bit too early in the morning. This is the Grapes, fantastic pub.
Yeah, I want y'all here. I'm trying to shoot my little kid. Yeah, coming around this around town. I'm gonna shoot my little kid. Yeah, coming this around town.
At the end of the day, I have to say the nightlife in Bath is actually alright. Very civilised, decent pubs, decent live music. Can't really go wrong. So it's not just a place you should come daytime to look at the amazing architecture and civil society. You should basically spend a night here, at least a night, take it all in. Anyway, cheers. Decent local cider, decent local ales. Yeah, so we're gonna walk down here, walk through this alleyway, and we're gonna head towards the Roman Baths, because you've got to realise that I haven't mentioned it yet, but I just assumed you all knew. It was founded by the Romans around about 60 AD, give or take a few years, I'm sure. And the reason they thought this is a good place to settle, or a good place to at least set up for a city and a settlement, was the hot thermal springs that came up through the ground, and it enabled them to have hot baths. The Romans were very hygienic people. They, were fans of aqueducts. Basically, they knew how to get rid of sewage, and they did it very well. Just before I walk past here, we've got another theatre. This is a fun theatre. It's called the Little Theatre. Nice little fun theatre. But over here, it's one that you might take your missus to or your girlfriend to. This place here, just here, is actual. This is called the Cross Bath. You might start to recognise, if you've seen the film New Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This was all filmed up around here. This was filmed just down here.
Well, there's chocolate and there's chocolate.
But I'll just show you, this is the Cross Bath. Let me just twist the camera around. Look at this. So you can go in here, and it's a beautiful spa. Look, the shower's just here. It's kind of strange that I can see the showers from the street. But there's an entrance over there, and you can go into this sort of hot thermal bath over here. And it's a great way to sort of maybe spend a couple of hours, I think. But it's connected to the Roman baths, which are further. But we're just going to twist the camera around again. And it's these streets that I find exceptional. We've got the Roman-inspired Roman columns. Obviously, this would have come later. It was rebuilt, knocked down, and then inspired by the Romans once again. But I think back in the Roman times, some of these columns, they did have columns, but these certainly didn't exist in the capacity. These are sort of modern take on the Roman columns. The Roman influence that heavily influenced this town. Just trying to work out there. So I think this was the Sweet Emporium that was used in the recent Willy Wonka film. I have to say, I kind of enjoyed it. I really did like the original Willy Wonka. I like the Johnny Depp one as well, but the recent one I also liked. We're going to go this way. I'm sorry, I'm not the greatest tour guide. This is the Roman Baths. This is the Queen's Baths here. And we're just going to head towards the Roman Baths. And I tell you, this is a rare thing to be walking through Bath and not having anyone around me, especially as I walk past the Roman Baths. Now, remember I told you how the Romans came here in around about 60, 65 AD? Well, these were constructed in 70 AD. So think about this. In our lifetime, potentially, I hope, these will be 2,000 years old in the year 2070. It's phenomenal how they exist. People, as you can, let me see if I can pan the camera around a bit. But the Roman Baths, if you'd like to visit, they are phenomenal. It gets about 1 million visitors a year. It is a very beautiful thing to see. I don't know if you can see, might be able to see over there. Very, very beautiful. And as we walk past the Roman Baths, we now find ourselves walking past Bath Abbey. not a cathedral, but an abbey. This is where monks used to be, and it's a considerably beautiful abbey. Unfortunate thing, like a lot of churches, abbeys, cathedrals in the United Kingdom, where museums are free, often free to get into, a lot of churches you have to pay to get into. I forget the price on this one, but I think the last time I went, it was roughly about £7.50. Cheaper than Canterbury Cathedral, which I was at very recently. Canterbury Cathedral were charging, I think, £17.50 for the privilege of going inside. But a beautiful abbey. I'll tell you what, I might make a video about it. So if you want to watch that video on Bath Abbey, the link is just here, and you'll be able to click through. But wait until the end of the video, which we're almost at, because we have just arrived at our third and final obelisk. Now, slightly dangerous because, as you can see, it's on a roundabout. But this is the Orange Obelisk, and it was erected by a chap called Nash, I believe in the 18th century. The exact date was here, and hopefully we can get over. The Victoria Obelisk was protected, I couldn't get close to it. This obelisk, as long as I don't tread on any flower beds, I believe I can get to. Now, it's interesting to see a city that has so much Masonic influence. It's called the Orange Obelisk because it was erected for I think the King of Orange, so the Netherlands, when he visited the Roman baths in the 18th century. And he wanted an obelisk just like the Prince of Wales had an obelisk. Obviously this one's smaller. Did I mention that the Prince of Wales obelisk is smaller now because apparently it was struck by lightning or something happened to it, so it lost a little bit of height. But this one is in its original form, and it sort of sits here in a roundabout, and I'm pretty sure that most people walk past it every single day, don't pay a blind bit of notice. But like all the other obelisks, they face in a north, they're aligned to north, east, west, south. And here we have the coat of arms, I believe, of the Orange. I think it's seen better days. So what does it say? I don't know what that. It's just a shame. You would think the Freemasons would take care of their stonework. This has certainly seen better days. But there we go. That was our walk through Bath. Not your conventional tour of Bath, I know. Tell me what you think about the Masonic presence in Bath. Tell me if you think I'm being ridiculous, but I think they have a huge impact on European society and also North American society. And they have for centuries made their presence very much well known. Positives and negatives to that, I think. But if you enjoyed this content, click that like button, click the subscribe button, and if you like watching this, watch another one of these videos. And I will see you in the next video. Until next time, keep progressing. Cheers.